Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Elise and this is my channel 10 to Life. Today we are going to be talking about a case that I am sure you are all familiar with. It's a household name. It's one that is very close to my heart and we are going to be doing a deep dive on it. I actually recorded this case literally 3 weeks ago, and then when I went to edit the video, I realized my mic wasn't turned on, and so there was no audio, so we're re-recording it today. In 2008, the world was completely captivated by the bizarre and crazy behavior of Caylee Anthony. At the time, Caylee Anthony was 22 years old and was a single mom, and she spun an intricate web of lies to cover up the disappearance of her 2-year-old daughter, Caylee Anthony. The summer that Caylee disappeared, Caylee Anthony was seen partying around town, Facebook posts of getting tattoos, drinking, literally looked as though she did not have a single care in the world, all while her 2-year-old daughter was missing. And you may think you know everything that goes into this case, but I'm going to share so much detail with you today that I would imagine some of it will surprise you. And we are going to go through a detailed timeline of all of the events leading up to what was in my opinion, one of the absolute worst jury trials that I've ever seen. And we're also going to talk about where Caylee is today and her new business venture that she is pursuing. It is just honestly the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. But before we jump into those details and into that case, I have to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Magellan TV. Magellan TV is a documentary streaming service with over 3,000 documentaries. They have all different type of genres, no matter what you're interested in. I, of course, love true crime, and so that's the one that I always stick to, but they have everything. For the last few weeks now, I've been watching episodes in their Crimes That Made History series, and I think we can all agree the case we're talking about today definitely made history. What I love so much about Magellan TV is that you can stream it on any device. No matter where you are, anytime, you can get your fix. And the team over at Magellan TV is so great that they're offering all of you 10 to Life listeners a free month trial. Try it out. I know so many of you have already and you've told me how much you love it. If you haven't yet, try it. I promise you will love it. Thank you, Magellan TV, for sponsoring today's video, and let's jump right into this case. Crowd gathered around her because it did ping and it went off and you got caught. Behind the cover, yes. This member decapitated. It's probably because you're trying to hide something and make sure certain details don't come out.
10 to Life with Elise.
This case first gripped headlines back in 2008, as I mentioned, and it was in the media like a frenzy. Every single reporter was talking about it. Every news station was covering it. There was not any conversation that you could start that didn't somehow mention Caylee Anthony. So let's take it back all the way to the beginning because I know you guys love the timeline so much. We're going to start at the beginning and we're going to go all the way through with all of the details leading us to where we are today with Caylee and her PI agency. I can't. On August 9th, 2005, Caylee Anthony was born. And what's very interesting is while normal new mothers would be overjoyed at the arrival of their new perfect little angel, as you can see that Caylee was, Caylee had been denying through her entire pregnancy that she was even pregnant. Which, I mean, the jig is up on August 9th because she delivers little Caylee Anthony. After she delivers Caylee, she does suggest who she thinks the father may be. She mentions her fiance that she had at the time named Jesse, another man who supposedly died in a car accident, and to this day, the identity of Caylee's father still has not been revealed. So this whole case started a little bit shady in my opinion. She's denying her pregnancy, she then delivers her daughter, she isn't sure who the father is or she won't say who the father is. It's already, in my opinion, not looking great. Fast forward to nearly 2.5 years later, and Caylee and her daughter Caylee are living in Caylee's parents' house in Orlando, Florida. This is where Caylee was raised, this is where Caylee lives, and an argument ensues on Father's Day, June 15th, 2008. So this argument ensues on Father's Day, and then the following day, on the 16th, Caylee scoops up Caylee and drives off. And Caylee's parents, Cindy and George, were trying to neutralize the argument and reconcile, but all of those efforts did not happen. Caylee refused to reconcile and was now driven off and away with Caylee. 2 weeks later, the family car, which Caylee Anthony had used, was found abandoned in front of a check cashing store. It was towed away, and the tow company ended up calling Caylee's parents because that's who the car was registered to. They became very concerned, wondering why their car was abandoned, what that meant for Caylee, what that meant for Caylee, so they grew extremely concerned immediately. Meanwhile, Caylee had told Cindy that she was away on a vacation in Jacksonville, Florida, but Cindy later discovered that this entire time, Caylee had been staying with a boyfriend. So after learning that the family car had been towed and impounded, they go to retrieve the car. Caylee's father, George, retrieves the car, removes a bag of trash from the trunk, and is overwhelmed by the odor that is left behind. And now their concern grew to extreme alarm and suspicion. Cindy tracks Caylee down that day to get answers, to ask what's going on, where's Caylee, where are you, what happened with the car, and you can hear in a string of 911 calls what unfolded from there. On the tape, Cindy can be heard saying, "I can't find my granddaughter. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today. It smells like there's been a damn dead body in the car. Something is wrong." And when Cindy confronted Caylee, she says that she had dropped Caylee off at the babysitter's house and that when she returned to pick her up, Caylee and the babysitter were gone. And then she goes on to say that she hasn't seen Caylee, in fact, since June 15th, which was an entire month earlier. And let me remind you as well, a month earlier is also when she fled that home after that alleged family argument. Cindy officially reports Caylee Anthony as missing, and this was June 15th, 2008, 1 month after that alleged argument.
There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the car.
Grandmother Cindy Anthony made a pair of 911 calls when she realized her granddaughter was missing. The first one was to ask police to come and arrest her daughter, Caylee Anthony, and to report her granddaughter Caylee was missing.
I have someone here that I need to be arrested in my home.
They're there right now?
I have a possible missing child.
During that call, Cindy Anthony also accused her daughter of stealing her car and money. 2 hours later, a much more frantic call.
I called a little bit ago, the deputy sheriff's son here. I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She has been missing for a month. Her mother finally admitted that she's been missing.
Cindy Anthony cries through the report to the dispatcher.
My daughter finally admitted that the baby's in the store. I need to find her.
Your daughter admitted that the baby is where?
But the babysitter took her months ago that my daughter's been looking for.
The grandmother goes on to describe the missing 3-year-old. Then the dispatcher asks to speak to the toddler's mother.
My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
And you know who has her?
I know who has her. I've tried to contact her. I actually received a phone call today.
The dispatcher gets some details from the young mother, then asks, why now?
Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago?
I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which was
The following day, on July 16th, 2008, Caylee Anthony is arrested. Caylee leads investigators on a complete wild goose chase. I mean, the web of lies that this woman told investigators is unlike anything I've ever seen or heard. She first takes them to the apartment of this babysitter, who she says allegedly ran off with Caylee. Then she takes them all the way over to Universal Studios, where Caylee pretended to have a job, as though they're not going to find that out. Police found tons of discrepancies in all of her stories, one of the biggest ones being that the apartment she led them to had been vacant for 140 days. That's what led Caylee to being arrested, and she was charged with child neglect, lying to investigators, and interfering with a criminal investigation. A few days later, on July 22nd, Caylee is officially declared a person of interest at a bond hearing. The hearing also introduces evidence that a cadaver dog went and zeroed in on odor in that car trunk that was identified as human decomposition. Detectives also later revealed that they found strands of hair that appeared to match Caylee Anthony's in that trunk. Now, although Caylee was being held on relatively minor charges, because at this point she had only been charged with neglect and lying to police, the judge saw this evidence as so disturbing, in addition to Caylee's crazy behavior, that he set her bail at $500,000. Officials announced that they were now treating the investigation as a homicide, and they announced Caylee as an official person of interest. A couple of weeks later, on August 9th, just almost 2 months after Caylee was last reported to be seen, it's her 3rd birthday. It comes and goes with no real leads in the case and no answers as to what happened to Caylee or where Caylee was. Now, if this case wasn't a media frenzy already, it takes an entirely new turn when a bounty hunter enters the scene. In enters Leonard Padilla, a California bounty hunter who also had his own reality TV show. He says he was contacted by Caylee Anthony and that he was going to post her bond. I mean, the circus of this case, it just keeps getting more and more fascinating. He posts that $500,000 bond and announces that he hopes that Caylee will lead him to where Caylee is. So even at this point, he posts her bond, but he's not even believing her innocence necessarily because he's doing it as a means to hopefully get answers as to where Caylee is. Her bond is posted and she's released from jail on August 21st, 2008. However, after just 8 days of posting that bond and being released from jail, Caylee is arrested for allegedly stealing and cashing checks from a friend. She's taken back into custody now on new charges. And there's a couple of things with this that raised some red flags for me. First, you're just released from jail. Why are you even thinking of breaking the law and getting rearrested and taken back into custody? But then as I started thinking about the cashier's checks that were stolen and written, was it because she needed the money in an attempt to flee? Why else would she steal and cash these checks? Why did she need that money so bad unless she was either trying to flee or possibly pay somebody off? I'm not sure. But alas, she was rearrested but then released just a few days later on September 5th. This woman is not learning any lessons. A couple of days later, the Orange County Sheriff's Office released a statement saying that they no longer believe that Caylee is alive. And they say that based on evidence that has not yet been made public and FBI tests, it is believed that there is a strong probability that Caylee Anthony is at this point deceased. We know Caylee can't stay out of jail too long, and so on September 29th, a month after she was released, she is rearrested again on multiple charges, including child neglect, lying to investigators, petty theft, the use of forged checks, but wasn't charged yet in conjunction with Caylee's disappearance. Still, it was all of the tiny other little details that rolled up into it. And we also see this a little bit reminiscent in a current case, the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case, where they have been charged with many, many crimes tying into the murder of the two children, but not anything directly with those murder charges yet. Caylee again is announced a suspect in her daughter's disappearance, and she is charged on October 14th, 2008 with first-degree murder. She was also charged with aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter, and providing false information to law enforcement. October 24th, 2008, about 5 months after Caylee was last seen, forensic reports from an examination of Caylee's car are released, and it begins to paint a very telling story. Scientists found evidence of body decomposition and traces of chloroform in the car trunk of Caylee's car. The lab reports from the FBI also say that they did find those strands of hair which have apparent characteristics of decomposition. And that hair was microscopically similar to hair that was found in young Caylee Anthony's brush. They said that they couldn't conclusively match that hair to Caylee's, but that it was so microscopically similar. I mean, it's not looking good for Caylee, and she has to feel like the walls are beginning to close in on her. And what's very interesting is just a week later, on December 5th, the jail releases videos of Caylee Anthony's visitation in jail.
Any stuff you want to talk to me about? Anything?
It's just nice hearing everything that's going on. I mean, I don't know what to say except I miss you guys. And I love you, and
I know you do. I love you too. I love you more than anything.
Person. I know, Dad. I want to see that little girl. I want to hear Caylee laugh. I want to be with my baby. You know, that's my focus. Her birthday's in just a few days.
Yeah, it is. Just a few days away. And remember, we wanted to have that little one, just like taking her to a park or something, and just be the immediate family, but now we want to have this great big one, so.
Caylee, we have to find her before her 3rd birthday.
Mom, I know
that's coming up fast.
I know, we have a couple weeks.
I don't want to wait another minute, let alone...
I don't want to wait another minute. I want her to be found, whether I'm still stuck in here or not. I don't care.
I think once she's found, then you can tell everybody what you know, and you'll be released. Don't you think?
Potentially, I don't know. Yuri has it set in his mind that I've done something.
Well, he thinks He thinks you guys did something to Caylee. All I'm trying to do is find Caylee for both of us.
Oh, I know.
For all of us. And I'll do whatever it takes.
I feel the exact same way. That's exactly what I've been saying. I don't care what I have to do. When I told them I would lie, I would steal, I would do whatever by any means to get her back. That's exactly how I feel. It's the truth.
On December 11th, 2008, a couple of days later after these videos were released, and just 2 weeks later after all of these forensic reports were released, everything begins to really come to a head. Skeletal remains of a young girl were found half a mile from the Anthony home. The area around the remains was swarmed by nearly 24 officials, including FBI agents, on that Thursday. Now, that area had previously been searched by police. However, at the time of that earlier search, it was flooded, which is why none of this evidence was discovered. And today, they found a human skull. The skull fell outside of a bag that was found by a utility worker around 9:30 a.m. that morning. The worker, of course, reported it to the authorities, and you can hear it in the 911 call.
We found a human skull.
Oh my gosh.
I know. We got is it a meter reader? Yes. I'm going to let you speak right now with the representative from our field services. This is Benny with Orange County Utilities.
Hey, Benny.
Hi. I'm going to let you speak with Rusty Spare, and everything is recorded. Here he is.
How are you doing?
Hey, Rusty.
One of my meter readers supposedly has found a skull of a, he believes it's human.
What's the location, please?
It's right off of Suburban and Chickasaw in the Caylee Anthony area, right by the school.
Do you have a specific address for me or not?
No, it's right by the school. If you take it,
you are.
Yeah, he's
Suburban and Goldenwood?
Well, Suburban and Chickasaw.
Chickasaw, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the school is right there. I can't think of the name of the school. Just go right straight down. It dead ends right into the woods. Okay. It'll be on the east side of Chickasaw, Suburban.
East side of Chickasaw. And what is your party's name that we're going to meet with?
His name's Roy, R-O-Y, Kronk, K-R-O-N-K.
He's not touching this, I hope.
No,
K-R-O-N-K. And he's
a meter reader.
Meter reader?
Yeah, and I'll just tell him to stay at that location and just stay away from everything.
Okay. And if you can, try to stress to him to please not draw attention to the area.
Okay.
And that would be great, just in case it is something. It may be nothing, but just in case.
Yes.
And you're from what department?
Utilities Customer Service.
Utilities.
And if you need any information, my phone number is 407-254-9751.
9751?
Yes.
Okay, Rusty, I'm going to go ahead and send a call up for a deputy to meet with him.
Okay.
And we'll see you there very shortly. What type of vehicle is he going to be in?
Probably a Colorado, small Colorado, white. It'll have Orange County. It'll have Orange County insignia on it.
Okay, white Colorado
Chevy
truck.
Colorado. Yes.
And with Orange County markings.
Yes.
Orange County markings. Okay, we'll see you there very shortly, okay?
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Now, what's so interesting about this is that Ray Kronk, the one who discovered this and had called the police, had tried to contact the police earlier that summer to search that area again as well. So could this evidence have been found sooner? Possibly. I want to give you guys a little bit of a warning here. It's going to get a bit graphic, so if you don't feel as though you want to hear it or stomach it, please fast forward a little bit. The skull that was found showed that her head had been wrapped in duct tape. Duct tape all the way from her chin to her nose, essentially. Reports also say that the duct tape clearly was placed prior to decomposition, as the tape was still attached to the skull, holding the jaw in place. 2 large black trash bags were also found near the scene, as well as a canvas-style laundry tote. There was also a group of 4 cloth letters that appeared to have a glittery appearance, and those letters appeared to align with a popular toddler shirt that believed to belong to Caylee. A Winnie the Pooh blanket and a pair of shorts that were labeled as size 24 months, which we know is 2 years old, which is about the age of Caylee Anthony, were also found at the scene. And what's really horrible about this too is the bones had apparently been scattered by animals, and several pieces of the skeleton appeared to have been having post-mortem animal activity on it and were just completely scattered. It's revolting and heartbreaking. It's just the ultimate disgusting story. It makes me enraged. Out of the gate, police announced that they were very confident that these remains that they had discovered belonged to Caylee Anthony. And on December 19th, 2008, Caylee Anthony was officially deemed as deceased. Police announced that the results of their DNA testing on the remains that were found confirmed that the remains belonged to 2.5-year-old Caylee Anthony and announced that she was dead. And the turmoil this brought to everyone involved in this case, the media, the public, the family, was truly devastating. Everybody's heart was broken. So much so that a month later, George Anthony, Caylee's grandfather, Casey's father, was found in a hotel room, unresponsive by police, and had left behind a 5-page suicide note in regards to his heartbreak over Caylee. Fortunately, it was a failed attempt of suicide, and George Anthony survived. A few months later in the spring, on April 19th, prosecutors announced that they planned to seek out the death penalty for Caylee Anthony. Fast forward a couple of more months to June 19th, nearly a year after Caylee first disappeared, and her autopsy report was released. The autopsy for Caylee said that the cause of death could not be determined. However, they found no signs of physical trauma and there were no drugs in her system. Now, this is where I'm a little bit conflicted, because while I am overjoyed that there are no signs of trauma to young Caylee, I can't help but be curious if it would have been a better scenario had there been drugs in her system so that she possibly didn't feel any pain, didn't know what was happening to her, and possibly could have been asleep the entire time. So I'm very torn with this. But tell me what you guys think in the comments below. On December 18th, 2009, the judge rules that the death penalty will stand for the Caylee Anthony trial. The judge denies the defense motions to eliminate the death penalty, saying that the jury will be the ones to ultimately decide if Caylee Anthony, should she be found guilty, is sentenced to death. As the prosecution and the defense continue building their case before they go to trial over the next few months, another bombshell ends up being released. And on April 6, 2010, jailhouse letters and inmate testimony from interviews with police was released, and it paints a damning story. An inmate told police that Caylee confided in them that she used to drug Caylee with Xanax so that she could go out and party at night, and that she called it Xanny the Nanny. It's revolting. That same inmate told police that Caylee was already aware of where the location was of Caylee's remains and the state in which her remains were found prior to the police making those details public. Now, right there, if she knew not only where Caylee's remains were located, but the details surrounding the state in which they were found, how else would she know that unless she were involved and were there, or somehow had some earlier information and was made privy to those details, which she never shared with police. Instead, she sent them on these wild goose chases and chasing their tails. So that for me stuck out in a big way. And although you can't always take inmate testimony as, the holy grail, it was very alarming, this new information and these new stories that were coming to surface. Over the next year, the defense and the prosecution continued to build their case. And finally, on May 9th, 2011, the trial was set to start, and it began with jury selection. And seating the jury took 11 days because they were hard-pressed to find anybody who not only had not heard about the case but didn't have a bias with the case. So it took 11 days to seat the jury, and on May 24th, the trial officially began. The trial began with the prosecution's opening statements regarding Caylee Anthony's behavior and painting her as a party girl who had no use for this young child, evidenced by a month spent partying, getting tattoos, shopping, and drinking, all which were photographed as some sort of timeline while her daughter was missing, had absolutely no regard for the well-being of her 2.5-year-old daughter who was missing. The following day, the defense attorney's up, and they're ready to speak and paint what their defense is going to be for Caylee Anthony. And they pulled out all stops. And they claim that Caylee had accidentally drowned in a swimming pool back on that date of June 16th when she first disappeared after that alleged family argument. But they don't stop there. They also claim that Casey's father, George, Caylee's grandfather, helped cover it up. And they claim that Caylee was essayed by not only her father George, but also her brother, and as she was so used to keeping that secret, that's also why she hid this cover-up and kept this secret. They were pulling out all the stops. And as if that didn't shock everybody who was paying attention to this trial enough, 2 weeks later, a software engineer testifies. And he testifies that after they did a deep dive on the tech belonging to the Anthony family, they found 85 searches for chloroform on the family computer, in addition to neck breaking, head injuries, ruptured spleen, chest trauma, and internal bleeding. Now tell me, who is searching those terms on your computer? And who is searching a term 84 times that just coincidentally is also tied to the murder of your daughter? I don't think that's a very big coincidence in my opinion. 84 times. 84 times. But hold on, because the circus of this trial takes another turn. Whereas you're hearing all of this information from this software engineer, then Cindy Anthony takes the stand. And she claims that it was she who searched those terms, not Caylee, and that she searched neck breaking and chloroform all on the family computer. Now, those searches were a key piece of the prosecution's evidence because although circumstantial, it led to their claim that Caylee Anthony used the chloroform to subdue 2.5-year-old Caylee Anthony and then suffocated her with that duct tape, which we know was found around young Caylee's skull all the way from her chin to above her nose. But now Cindy is saying she's the one who searched those terms, which is putting a dent in that theory and in that circumstantial evidence. The prosecution presented evidence that questioned the truthfulness of Cindy, showing records that she was in fact at work at the time of many of these searches. And the computer records revealed that someone using Cindy Anthony's username was logged into the computer at the hospital where she worked for nearly 9 hours on those days. So somebody else in the Anthony home had to have been doing those searches. Now, as Cindy was saying that she was the one who made these searches, I'm wondering, why are you covering up for Caylee? Is it because she didn't want to lose another family member? Is it because she really had some sort of involvement? Why was she going to these lengths to take responsibility? Let me know what you think in the comments below. But not everybody was helping Caylee. Not everybody in your family was taking responsibility, because a few days later on June 29th, Caylee's father, George, takes the stand and he testifies and he just knocks a blow to Caylee's defense strategy. He says that Caylee was the last one to ever see Caylee alive. He also completely denies any sort of accusations about SA regarding Caylee and denies ever knowing anything about any alleged drowning in the pool or cover-up of that alleged drowning. He also continues to offer details in this testimony regarding his 2009 suicide attempt, stating that he did that because he felt as though he failed Caylee. This trial was crazy. This whole case was a media frenzy, but then when this trial was taking place, as all of these new details surfaced and emerged, it truly was, you could not take your eyes off of it. Everybody was glued to the television screen. The courthouse was packed. People were outside of the courthouse. People had viewing parties. I mean, it was truly a case that made history. And in the process of all of this, you were hard-pressed to find anyone who felt Caylee was innocent, which made everybody else bolster in their convictions that they felt 100% she would be found guilty. It wasn't even a matter of that. The only question on the table was if she would get the death penalty or not. But everything that people thought they knew completely changed on July 5th, 2011, a little over 3 years since Caylee Anthony disappeared. And on July 5th, after 11 hours of deliberation with the jury, Caylee Anthony was found not guilty in the murder of her daughter, Caylee Anthony. This sparked public outrage. You can even see when the verdict is read, Caylee looks completely shocked and dumbfounded. Even she thought that she was going to be found guilty.
In the Circuit Court for the 9th Judicial Circuit in and for Orange County, Florida. State of Florida versus Caylee Marie Anthony. As to case number 2008 CF 15606-0. As to the charge of first-degree murder, verdict as to count 1, we the jury find the defendant not guilty, so say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of aggravated child abuse, verdict as to count 2, we the jury find the defendant not guilty. So say we all. Dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of aggravated manslaughter of a child, verdict as to count 3, we the jury find the defendant not guilty. So say we all. Dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson.
The outrage was unreal. There were protesters, mini riots, people screaming, crying, hysterical. Nobody thought that this was going to be the outcome of this case. And while the jury found her not guilty of the first-degree murder or manslaughter charges, they did find her guilty of 4 charges that were misdemeanors for providing false information to law enforcement and those minor, smaller charges. And it was just, everybody was dumbfounded. Like, what the hell is going on here? So although she wasn't found guilty for those murder charges, she was found guilty on those misdemeanors, and each of those counts, which were 4 total, carried a sentence of up to 1 year in prison. So she was looking at a possible max sentence of 4 years in prison. Although that is not nearly the justice that anybody had hoped for, it was something. It was at least something. 2 days later, Caylee goes to her sentencing hearing for those 4 counts, and she's sentenced to time already served. She receives the 4-year sentence in addition to a $4,000 fine, but the prison time is canceled out by the nearly 3 years that she already spent in custody, plus a report of good behavior. And on July 17th, 2011, a little over 3 years when this entire situation began, Caylee is released from jail. This is a case that haunts me, and I'm sure it haunts so many of you at home because, in my opinion, there was so much evidence and so much testimony to where, how could she have gotten away with this? How could she have been found not guilty? And I know I myself have said it, and I've seen several other people say it out there that she has the name murderer attached to her because people just believe that to be true, and she somehow got away with it. She has stayed under the radar for the majority of the time. She still lives in Florida. In 2018, she started a photography business, which has apparently failed, and she has since dissolved. But get this, as of recently, she announced that she is starting her own PI agency so that she can help other families with their missing children. The nerve, the absolute nerve. She's already registered this business, but she is going to have a hard time getting licensed because of her history. Her business was registered on December 14th, 2020, and it became active in 2021. Now here's the kicker. The address listed on the LLC registration belongs to a Florida private investigator by the name of Patrick McKenna. Patrick McKenna was the private investigator on the defense team of Caylee Anthony's trial. Interesting how that all comes full circle, isn't it? And what's even more interesting is, according to previous reports, Patrick and Caylee lived together in 2017, but it's unclear if they still share a home together. Following her sentence, Patrick had spoken out, and he said, although she is flawed, she's not a murderer. So they must have, they struck up this romance, they're shacking up, they decide they're gonna start their own PI agency. It is unreal. Caylee doesn't currently hold a private investigator license in Florida, and that process takes quite a bit of time and education in order to obtain. And according to the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and I'm going to read this for you, it says that it regulates private investigator licensing in the state, and that the department will deny your application if convicted of an offense in any other state, territory, or country punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year, unless and until civil rights have been restored and a period of 10 years has passed since the final release from supervision. So, TBD, we're going to see if Caylee Anthony becomes the next PI, and I bet you, I'm calling it right now, I see a reality show on the horizon. I see this as her comeback story. I see this as her trying to make amends so that she can come out in public again. I see this as a very strategic ploy. I don't believe, in my opinion, this to be something that she is doing out of the goodness of her heart. Not for a damn second. Now tell me what you guys think. Please leave it in the comments below. First of all, tell me what you think about the trial and the verdict. Were you guys shocked when this was all going on? Did you not know all of these details? And what do you think about this new move of Casey starting a PI agency with her alleged boo who worked on her defense team as the lead private investigator? It's all just too, what's the word I'm looking for? Coincidental? Thanks so much for taking the time to listen with me today, guys. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell to on so that you get notified of upcoming videos and live streams. And please give this video a thumbs up, give it a like so that it'll help push it out there, and share it where you can. Thanks for listening with me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the case. Until next time, stay safe. Bye.